I do stand by Kelazur 2-0. I do think Terran can put up a fight here. I think this should be fun.
Gonna see how, I guess, good each TVTs are. Because there are some things to elaborate even more so on, I guess, as far as Kelazur goes. But we'll do that after the intros. The top right, as the red Terran, he is Terran.
Bottom left-hand side from Team Liquid, we have got Kelazur.
So, Kelazur, I don't think, I mean, I guess I could check really, really quick, but TVT is not something that has always been a highlight for me of him. Like, I don't think it's one of the strongest ones. I just think that he is overall stronger than Terran. That particular win rate is just kind of funny. Yeah. As a lot of what we see from Kelazur is getting a bit bopped by Special, because kind of a similar way to Kelazur, just overall has higher expectations, probably a higher skill level, we'll find out right here, than Terran. That's Special to Kelazur, right? So, you know, it's not really fair when we look at just the region alone and how Kelazur does. But he is living in the Netherlands, as far as I know he still is, although you know, I'd have to double check that. And as such, practicing on the European server, not getting a whole lot of that TVT practice, a lot more TVP nowadays, and is playing with that ping. So all things to consider and to give another, I guess, note of confidence to people who do want to cheer for Terran. He's coming in here a bit unknown, but he's got some really good games under his belt, and he's a very solid player who could surprise us.
I want a surprise. I want something exciting. I want Latin America to be great tonight, Zombie Group. I feel like I'm ready for a bit of TVT, then some ZVZ. What an evening we have ahead.
Yeah. We already have the other stream going, by the way, guys. ESL underscore SE2B. Let's mess that one up. As we have the continuation of the groups, but also some of the final parts of these groups. So Latin America, it's only 2 groups. It's the kind of GSL style is what we usually call it. And as such, the winner of this gets to go to the playoffs. The loser of this, you know, gets dropped down to the decider match. So another shot against either Eric or Shakti, which is what's currently happening over on the base stream. So make sure to check that out. Get all the deets. Know exactly where people stand in the group. And I guess don't go too far away from here, because Terran, as I said, might surprise us. Already getting a regular old TVT off to start. Kelazur maybe going to be a little bit more aggressive with a couple more units coming out.
Yeah, a few more units. You're obviously going to play a triple Reaper, double Hellion here, so gets feisty right away, but obviously this doesn't always lead to all that right. You can maybe pick off that SCV low ground. In this case, it's going to be a little rough for Terran because he went into that Cyclone so quickly. Kelazur able to take a good fight to start, gets one SCV, and any delay on this CC obviously just allows you to take an advantage, and that's exactly what Kelazur is playing for at the moment.
Terran did exactly what he was supposed to, held on to his Reapers, waited for the big bad Cyclone. Actually, Kelazur going to push the issue. But so far, actually, very good micro from Terran. Saves his units. Kelazur does get an injured Cyclone, I guess, but the repair is even coming down. Nice start there for Terran.
Yeah. Not too bad, as we do have the Starport about to finish that tech lab. We got a third gas down coming down from either side, and that means it's Raven time, Zombie Grub, as we so often see. In TVT, there's got to be 0 surprises there. And we're just going to be seeing, I guess, from here, the next real question is, how many Ravens do each of them build? Do we go 2 Ravens each? Does one of them build 3? Does one of them just build 1? That would be really, really crazy in this situation. That's basically our next kind of difference maker between the 2 players.
Default assumption 2.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to go with. 2 for both. And then I do believe Kelazur is... Well, to be fair, I don't know much about Terran. I can't speak to his playstyle. Yesterday he was playing some fairly long TDZs, but that doesn't seem much as TVT. What I was going to say is that I do think Kelazur is going to be more in command, not necessarily always leading, but I think he's going to be the one to push out and make some of the bolder choices, kind of push aggression, where Terran, if he does, I would be surprised. This guy might win, but usually when we see the guys who are just these, like, there's actually a lot of history with Kelazur. He's been a professional for so damn long. At the very least, they're usually in control. in a matchup like this. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. It's actually maybe even more so. Oh, you know what? It's Kelazur's grabbing the third CC. Terran's still not having it hit. Oh, there we go.
He's going to drop it down too, but it is much later, right? So if nothing else, we're already seeing either Terran needs to be aggressive or Kelazur is just already clawing ahead in a pretty major way, right? When you consider how big the difference is in the command center timing. So, yeah, looking good for Kelazur, but like I said, Terran maybe can get some aggression off this. The only problem I have is that it's not like he has so much more. It's equal Ravens. He has one more tank. By the time he gets across the map, that doesn't mean much. 4 extra Marines don't exactly go a long way when it comes down to tank fire as well in these fights, so I don't see what Terran necessarily does to make up for that later third. And Kelazur even sees this attack coming, so he should be able to start positioning around this as well. Obviously, that should only help him out further.
Well, we kind of are seeing, I guess, a difference of macro just a little bit. Now we're going to see a difference of the actual engagements. Very important. Something that I think Kelazur in the past has actually been weak, if I was to pinpoint in this matchup. It often feels like the engagements, but Terran just getting blasted by a couple tanks just by walking by. He's already going to have to pack it up and go home.
That was kind of brutal. Use a siege tank there right away. Yeah, to just kind of respond to your point, I agree. Kelazur's engagements have been that kind of weaker kind of part of his play, and I think there's a lot of series against Special where he gets into great positions, and there's just one really bad fight where the game completely turns, and it's just Special from there on out, you know, so I just wanted to echo that sentiment. It's definitely been true right now. He's just going to chase this down. Auto turret's already dropping. Oh, this is so good for Kelazur. His auto turret's come down so quickly. The auto turret's coming down from Terran, but just so late. And the tanks of Terran just melt, and this is just not even competitive. A complete wipeout. This was a very good engagement for Kelazur. That's not one of those engagements we were alluding to. And that was plain and simple, as much as we kind of somewhat started to hype Terran up. I mean, you couldn't make it simpler than that, CG. That was just the first push of the game. Overwhelming defeat.
Right. And, I mean, I guess you could technically say it was a second one, but it doesn't really help Terran's side of things, because what it was the first push was him losing a tank kind of for no good reason. There was no purpose to it. He just went too far forward around a bend and then had to retreat around that bend. So, it's just awkward, and it happens to the best of us, but it is such a critical moment in TVT when you both have the identical setup that if you're going to lose a tank, lose a couple of Marines, be forced to run back home desperately and barely get into position, yeah, of course the other guy is going to have a good time, if not actually just win the game. So, I mean, that was kind of one of those, the T-ball was on like the little thing there, and Kelazur just kind of like batted off. It was one of the easier setups to end a TVT in. And not at all what I think we could, not at all what Terran wanted, obviously, both in the fact that his push didn't work, but also that TVT is not really supposed to end that way. It's supposed to kind of like you be able to cling on a little bit and actually get to Stim, get to Marines behind, but still alive. I'm expecting that in the second game. Terran to be a little more passive, a little more restricted, and hoping just to make it to a mid-game TVT.
Okay, yeah, I can get behind that. I can see that being a thing. I hope so. I kind of really believe Terran gave us some really cool games last season. I really think it'd be amazing to kind of see him give him at least a good fight, right? Get to a mid-game, show us what he can do in that mid-game. Because, yeah, I kind of believe in him after what I saw last time around. So, hype to hopefully see something of that coming through maybe this time, as we get hopefully ready to go in the not too distant future into our game number 2. Everyone's just got a swap service. We're actually swapping between NA East and Europe, so it actually goes from just from kind of being Kelazur playing ping disadvantage, now Kelazur getting ping advantage. It's just the way that these work. Obviously, it's kind of rough when you've got to swap between kind of like one player just on like, basically one player has no ping and the other guy has ping, then the other way around. That's just the way that these tournaments have to run in the online formats.
Yeah, usually it's also because the ping is not really, how to say this? The ping is abhorrent for one person and okay for the other, you know what I mean? Like if it's just absolutely terrible for Kelazur, just like he's got like 200 going to East. And it's probably fair that they go to Central, Europe once. It is just Europe. But anyways, that is the situation here. We are on Europe. So Kelazur gets map 1 game 1 on North America, moves over to his preferred server, gives another little edge to him, which I don't think he needs, but now he's got. And Terran's in a lot of trouble for this particular match. Not to skip over it or anything, but I am kind of looking for Terran's versus Eric, you know, later. His match versus Eric later. But we'll see what happens here.
Is that the one that you saw yesterday when he was playing?
Yeah.
Yeah? Was that good again? Because it was good last season too. They played some long, fun games.
Yeah, I'm not sure if game 1 was... I can't say the game 1 or game 3. I caught game 2, and it was Romanicide. It was super late game. It was like... They seemed very evenly matched, so I think that would be a very, very good decider. This might be a foregone conclusion with everything stacked now in favor of Kelazur, even with the ping. See if Terran's got something up his sleeve.
Yeah, let's see what we got as we get ready to go. Apparently, Terran forgot to swap server for a little bit, so that's what we were waiting on just there. So that's kind of a fun one as we get this ready to rock and roll. Blackburn as a map really does promise the longer game as well, right? So it's kind of cool to see that coming in.
That's true, I guess. I think that any TVT on any map can really play longer. I guess Beckett, you know, the idea is that once you have momentum, you kind of keep it on such a short map. But yeah, any map. But I guess it really was that first little engagement. Terran just kind of even to open up an opportunity. He gave the green light to Kelazur. So that's why I'm like, I don't think he's going to do it here. Or he's going to do a different build. But as far as the builds that are really reliable in TVT, there's the ones we saw there, basically. There's the 2 racks isn't really done because everyone's factory expanding now. And I guess you could bring out like a 5 Reaper 3 Hellion thing like Cure does. Or even maybe try and fit in some Banshees. I guess those are the things that could really mix it up in TVT. Otherwise, it might just be about playing a bit more defensive for this guy. Because he is down a game. He is the red Terran.
And in the bottom right-hand side from Team Liquid, we have got Kelazur.
I don't even think Terran really plays a lot of TVT. One of his previous match results are all Zerg and Protoss. He faces a guy that I face on ladder.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, this guy's actually kind of BM. I don't really want to shout him out or anything. Yeah.
You see.
Not many Terran on his previous history, but it is funny looking at these guys' previous history, right? Like Terran, who is most seen in the Latin America region. Kelazur we see even in a different, open cups and different tournaments. Oh, a little T-Rack coming in here. But when you talk about a lot of the players who we mostly see in Latin America, it's like you look at their histories and it really is like Nano, Eric, Nano, Eric, Eric, Nano. Then you got special ones, and you got Ryu twice. Like they are very familiar with each other, I guess we'll put it that way.
Yeah, the Latin American scene just gets to play, like say, all of the time. It's a pretty close-knit circle, which is cool in its own way, right? Obviously, it's kind of cool when these guys know each other so well, and then you get to see kind of crazy things happen and crazy builds come out, all that kind of stuff. I always like it when we get to see. That's why I like Latin America so much, because they do just have almost not quite on the level of China, but like they almost have like a little bit of their own meta as well. And I think that's always really fun to see and really fun to see play out. There's definitely their styles that they know are good against the other guys and all of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And the reason that we do have some outliers of Kelazur and Special is that they are literally outside Latin America, the Netherlands, and Korea. But anyways, we have Kelazur 2-raxing, not proxied, so it's not super dedicated. Again, the expectation is that your opponent is factory expanding, so the chances of winning with a proxy 2-rax is greatly decreased. But this can still provide some pressure, and with Kelazur feeling so confident about his Reaper control on his preferred server, this makes total sense. I can't believe I didn't think of it first, that Kelazur would Reaper this guy, because Kelazur is definitely one of the guys who was doing a lot of Reapers back when they were popular, and still does.
Gonna see our two Reapers chilling, and we need to see what exactly will come of Kalazur's attack, if anything at all. Thing is, it doesn't even necessarily need to do much, right? And you can even just sit back for a while and just counterattack in with these Reapers. Like, there's a good amount of time for them to finally find the right moment to jump on in or so, you know?
He's gone up to 7 Reapers. Currently has 5 coming in with a Hellion looking to destroy that Cyclone. Good reaction from Terran. He was on point, so he pulls back. Because all it really takes is like 1 or 2 seconds of being pounced and not reacting to actually end the game. And hell, it might still happen. 2 Reapers to 1 little Marine to help out. But while maybe it doesn't end the game, Terran does have his production running. He's got a tank on the way. It's a big delay in the command center, and Killer's not even really done. To your point, he could always keep Reapers alive and then come back and backstab later.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to run in with them right now, and you've already delayed the CC. You've already got your own CC up and running. You know, that especially for me, just the fact that his own CC is already working away here. That to me is kind of one of the crazier parts of this, so... He's already looking good eco-wise. Here come these Reapers into the main base. They can try and take a fight, circumvent the siege tank at the front. Into the main we go. One Reaper goes down. Marine's going to get popped around a little bit. And a couple of SCVs start to fall. So quite a few of these SCVs will go down already. And one Reaper just pulling back. I mean, obviously great trades. And he's just going to get so many more workers still out of this. It just keeps on going, ZG.
Yeah, Terran even trying to pull his SCVs back did mean... Well, I guess he did a good job saving some of them, but the Reapers just stayed where they were, focus fired, because they weren't going to get out, and there you go. Kalazur up 11 workers. Hellion can't do very much more above that, but 11 workers is already some pretty damn good damage. Kalazur also on his way to stim already. He's not looking for any, like, Viking Raven push in particular, but might... I mean, maybe he still pushes, even though he doesn't have those Vikings to help him and support him, because he thinks that he has such a good position. But I will say that Terran's production as it is set up right now, well, once he swaps off the reactor anyways, it is very good at turtling. I think it could survive on 2 base.
Yeah, he can live a while, but that's going to be kind of about it, right? I mean, that's what you just got to play to at this stage, right? You say, well, you know, this map's actually good for just surviving on as well, right? So you got to take that into account. Maybe that's something which helps you here. And you just got to kind of play for it. So, Stim Pack well on the way for Kalazur, of course. I mean, there's just so many advantages that he is kind of running with at the moment. So, yeah, it's definitely looking a little bit rough right now for Terran, but the show goes on for the moment still. Just a little bad. I do like this from Kalazur. I often find myself not liking 2 Cyclones. Oh, this was a great little surround here. Because, you know, if they don't catch something in transit, then it's like, oh, you have like 1 less tank. You know, whatever. But the idea with 2 Cyclones, you gain that map control, you do have that forward presence, and you can catch something if they're not paying attention, or simply start picking off 1 or 2 units, 3 or 4 units. And that's the other option that Terran could have gone with, I suppose. Either he turtles, which, you know, as much as a bio player can turtle, just play very defensive. Or he goes, well, maybe I can win right now with Vikings and tanks. Because that's still, you know, the army supplies would have still been even-ish, I think, back then. And the Vikings can add a lot. But, you know, that just saying that could have been an option. I understand why Kalazur would want to get on top of that, in front of that. Well, it's not what's happening. So 2 Cyclones, just making sure that Terran stays on 2 bases. But Kalazur happily extends his lead, just continuing the 11 worker lead. 3rd CC already done. And Stim and combat shields. Combat shields already on the way. Drops prepared to go. Kind of funny, it doesn't run into the Ravens. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, just avoiding the slow zones, I suppose, as much as possible. These Cyclones do see the attempted move out here, so you're aware somewhat of the attack coming towards you, so Kalazur can work around that perhaps. The Ravens are going to find the Ravens, and now we have a bit of a weird dance where they're like, well, do we drop onto you guys? Do we auto turret? Here comes the drop from Kalazur into the main base. He's going to shred a mineral line, of course, great way to work around anyone who's just going to try and stay alive by playing mega defensively. And, yeah, I mean, as auto turrets come in, this is good. I mean, you're actually going to cancel a couple of units off, and maybe you can get combat shields as well, but looks as though combat shield is just about going to survive as long as it gets repaired and doesn't burn down. Yeah, I mean, good attempt, cool attempt, just not really substantial enough at the end, right?
Very unfortunate for Terran, too. I give him a lot of credit here. He kind of positioned his tanks forward so that if Karazor did a push, he'd be able to kind of buy time at the very least. And then his Ravens were in a place to not only do the harassment that they did, but they also were kind of supposed to see a drop because that was definitely where he was weakest. And it didn't, they didn't. So that's just a bit unlucky. Also, he didn't really have a ton of Vikings to work with anyway. I'm not sure how much he could have stopped the drop. He could have Interference Matrix. Now he's getting to Vikings, and he is getting to mostly tank Vikings. His Marine production is not very good yet, but he just kind of wish he had done it sooner, actually. It's kind of weird to do the Vikings later on as opposed to first and foremost.
Yeah, no, it's almost like his other plan hasn't worked out right, so now he's like, well, I gotta. And it's like, well, yeah, but... I mean, it's a backup plan for a reason, right? It's not meant to be maybe the best case scenario, but... yeah, it's a little bit of a rough one for Terran. And Kalos, I love what Kalos is doing as well, right? Not taking anything for granted, playing safe, putting units in position to deal with a potential drop. Just in case, he just doesn't want to take those risks.
Karazor is going to extend his lead by just containing Terran on 2 base. And there's not much that Terran could do. Once he was forced to disengage from the front with those tanks, because he was dealing with the drop in the main, and I think he would have regardless, just with the amount of units Karazor had. Now that's a contain. That's what happens in TVT. Once you give up ground, it's very difficult to gain it back, especially going down your own choke. Basically impossible. So the, decision has to be made here. Like, you could try and get enough medevacs to doom drop, which you'd have to start from 0 medevacs. That would take a long time. Or you can try and desperately bust out, but that won't be successful at all. I think he underestimated how much was actually there. Or just desperate anyways. Either way, Karazor going to pounce on the mistake. And kind of wrap this game up as well. And go on to the playoffs.
Yeah, plain and simple for Karazor. I mean, like you say, it was... I think desperation more than anything, right? If you're not going to get a 3rd CC down, what else are you going to do? SCV's started to pull, but it just ain't going to make a difference.